G'day, welcome to Realms of Power. My name's Dr. Tony Rudd and I'm the host of this show. The purpose of Realms of Power is to turn your true aligned power on, or turn your tap on, as we like to say. We broke this down into 12 different realms in our very first episode, and we've had a whole lot of guests come on the show to help with their specific area that might help you turn your power on. Now, this is designed for people that might be stuck somewhere, down on their power, low on energy, or just want to live their most unbelievable, magnificent life. So my background is a chiropractor for 25 years, helping people turn their power on through alignment and optimizing of their nervous system. I've seen such phenomenal change. I've also been a life coach in the personal development field for almost 20 years, helping people physically, chemically, emotionally, spiritually, all the different realms. And it's been an honor to be able to help so many people. That's why we've done this podcast. Now, if you'd like to find out more, I have a personal website on www.tonyrudd.com.au, and we have a Facebook page for Realms of Power to access all the episodes. They're available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all of the different platforms as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have an awesome day. See ya. G'day, Dr. Tony here with the Realms of Power podcast. And today I'm joined by the extraordinary Natasha Zuvela. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tony. I'm so excited to be here this morning. I was just listening to some of your other episodes and really inspired to share a bit of my journey and hopefully help and inspire others along the way.
Yeah, look, I know you've been doing that for many years, knowing you we met many years ago. And you've had a journey in your professional life, I guess, through the entertainment industry. And now you've moved much more into the health field, which of course aligns with turning people's power on and both of those to a degree. So how about we just dive straight in? And can you give the listeners just, I guess, a sense of your background? Maybe we'll start with the entertainment industry, what you've been able to achieve there, and how that's led you to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit about my backstory. I spent 20 years as an international TV presenter, so representing billion-dollar brands like Virgin Money, MTV, Forex Gold, Citibank, a whole bunch of different companies like that, but it never really started out that way. I actually had a fear of public speaking, had dyslexia, still have dyslexia, but really uncovered that in high school when I was 15 and had a massive fear around public speaking. And that was actually instigated by being laughed at every time I'd get up and speak to my classmates, having to read a couple of pages out of a book. And I just couldn't do it very well because anyone who has dyslexia, you'll find that the words actually flip back to front and jumble all over the place. So it's a nightmare if you want to be a TV presenter. But for me, I had a dream. I thought, you know what, I'd really love to be in the entertainment industry, love to be on TV, acting, all sorts of things. And I actually didn't let that stop me. So I was really committed to doing whatever it takes to fulfill that dream, even though I wasn't very good at it at the beginning. And then I ended up going on to being the host of MTV, being viewed by 60 million people in Europe and also Australia, and having the number one show on MTV for about 3 years running. So that was kind of my journey as well. From working in that industry, I was fortunate to take over Steve Irwin's role at Australia Zoo when he unfortunately passed away back in 2006. And I had the honor of, learning about crocodiles and snakes and elephants and nearly every animal under the sun, and taking over that presenting role in the Crocoseum, presenting to 5,000 people daily for those 3 years after he passed. So that was a huge honor for me. But in that process, I also had a 25-year phobia of snakes. So when my agent actually sent me the email and said, "Hey, would you like to audition for Steve Irwin's role?" I said, "Well, is there snakes involved?" And he said, yes, about 15 to 20 a day that I'd be working with. And, at that point, I just literally nearly fainted and fell off my chair. But I went again, and this is where we talk about personal power, is I believe our greatest fears is where our purpose lies. And if we have the courage to walk through those doorways and embrace those fears, obviously healthy fear, to actually find our gifts are on the other side. And I actually ended up becoming a certified venomous snake handler, ended up, presenting to Animal Planet and Discovery Channel in America. And part of that process is I had to be certified in handling venomous snakes. So I went from not being able to look at a picture of a snake to then being able to handle some of the world's deadliest snakes known to mankind. So that was kind of my TV journey in a nutshell. So, yeah.
Just such an amazing story. And I really picked up on what you said with the fear, because my eldest son breeds snakes. And so
Good on you.
we've been through the journey. We don't have venomous snakes, but we've been through the journey of that people have this fear, and whether it's conditioning or something that they've been put onto as a parent, and it would stop them. It literally stops them, the body language, the tone. And we'll get the snakes out when visitors, I'm never touching a snake, and then half an hour in, when they just see the snake just hanging, they're like, I'll touch the snake. And then they'll hold the snake. And it's amazing seeing that transformation for people in a really relatively short time. So, wow, you had that up to the next level of fear of public speaking. Oh, I'm going to be a presenter on a massive worldwide scale. And then that live show, for anyone that's been to Australia Zoo, what a beautiful experience that must have been. And I know there was such energy around the world with Steve's passing, and for you to take over that mantle with your skill set, learn that, I just honor you. I think it's just a brilliant journey. So well done, and inspiring people. What was the drive back for you as that girl? Like that, you said you had a dream. What was the part in you that had the dream, that had the belief that you could do something like that?
I think I actually, that's sort of bit of before that, I was very much into sport and health and fitness. And I became a 2 times Australian aerobics champion in my high school years. So played for 5 different basketball teams, very much into high level elite sport. So I created a lot of discipline, and I wasn't very good when I first started aerobics. I couldn't even kick my leg up high or do the splits. And for me, and I think this is really important for people, is you don't need to be exceptional when you first start. Actually, you don't even need to be very good. You've just got to have a willingness and a drive to actually master a skill. And for me, it was aerobics initially, to then become a 2 times Australian aerobics champion. And I put in the hours. I did the work 3 times a day training, before school, during school, after school, 6 days a week, because I really wanted to excel. And I really loved the sport, and I had a huge passion for it. So I believe if you love something, it doesn't matter if you're good or not at the beginning, you actually have, if you've got the love and the passion, I believe the work ethic and putting in the time, you will create success if you have a love and passion for it. And that's what I did with sport, which then led me, obviously, having the belief around, initially not being able to speak in front of my classmates, being laughed at. And I also, deep down, I actually wanted to prove myself that I could actually do something and master something, whether it was speaking, to the audience at the school, to becoming a TV presenter, becoming a venomous snake handler. So to be honest, I was actually not just trying to prove people wrong. I was actually trying to prove to myself that I had the capabilities, because I had a drive, I could actually do something. And that's been one of my number one success strategies in all of my businesses that I've run, is that you've just got to have a willingness to actually move forward and put in the work. And if you do that and you show up consistently, then, and you stick at it long enough, and, magic happens.
That's amazing. And it's inspirational for a lot of people. And some people might then compare themselves to some of your phenomenal achievements, and that might bring them down because of an internal block. And I know you have had, like most people here, had blocks, had challenges. It's not all easy. It's not just putting in the work. You'll then get thrown a left field, a curveball, and it's about that determination as well as timing. And there's always a whole bunch of factors. Is there any X factor that you have found that why you've been able to achieve those things, whereas other people who might have tried that and had the willingness haven't been able to get there? Is an X factor that you have picked up on?
Look, you make a really great point, Tony, because sometimes I feel, and even I see it too, we can kind of compare ourselves and think, oh, I'm just not like that person. I don't have that skill. I don't look that way, or I don't have the resources. And I think we can sometimes compare ourselves too much. But I think when you talk about X factor, I really believe that my adversity as a child, going through depression or sexual abuse, abusive relationships, mental, physical, and things that I look back at that time and go, that really could have made me or broken me completely. And it did almost break me, and which is where we connected back many years ago through personal development, through my own, destructive behaviors and personal challenges. That led me into, life coaching and becoming a life coach and helping others. And I believe it was my adversities that actually helped me, maintain and push myself through and find that X factor, because I was like, if I can get through challenges like that, right, then surely getting on TV and picking up a venomous snake to me is like, I can do that. And I think if you can really acknowledge yourself from where you've come from and not look at it negatively, but look at it as a sense of power and go, you know what, I actually overcame that. If we do a stock take, and I do this, I used to do this a lot with my clients, is actually do a stock take of everything that we've overcome. And not actually be shameful about or feel guilty about it. Go, you know what? I've achieved great things and I've moved through that, and not actually put ourselves down. I think that really unlocks that, power within ourselves, and go, I can get through anything and I can achieve anything if I've got through that period of life. And that was a really dark time for me in my sort of late teens, early 20s. It could have ended very badly, to the point where, I had turned my life around, personal development, started helping others, giving back, paying it forward. And really my transformation really exploded through actually helping others with their trauma and helping them move through their, things that are holding them back.
Oh, geez, what a share. Thank you so much. And I guess one of the key parts there is really just being able to acknowledge yourself for what you have achieved, what you have been through. And a lot of people forget to celebrate those wins and just can go doom and gloom. So I think it's a beautiful point. All right. Well, look, let's move on then, Natasha, to your health journey. You've sort of moved out of the entertainment field. In a way, you're still using up all those amazing skills, but you've applied it to health, optimizing people's health. And in part, I think that for you might have started with the journey you've had from your children and some challenges you faced there, and going, wow, the system hasn't worked for me. What can I do? I guess that's the summary I can see from an outside perspective. Would you like to share to the listeners maybe some of that journey, and then what you're really doing right now to help literally turn people's power on in the health field?
Absolutely. Look, it's been an incredible journey. A lot of heartbreak, a lot of pain, a lot of, loss in financial circumstances. So it really has been challenging. Both my kids have had major health issues. My daughter really, when she was probably, I first noticed it around, 10 months old, 1 year old, with behavioral issues and gut issues and, all linked to the brain. I didn't actually know really what was going on, because I've first time being a mother, thinking, oh, is this normal? Is this a normal child doing what it's meant to do? But it wasn't until I had my son, I could really understand, okay, this kind of behavior and is not really normal. She had a huge amount of eczema. Then my son, he was actually, as, the years went by, he actually was sick all the time, and I couldn't really work out what was going on. He'd go outside, he'd get sick at a drop of a hat just by, slightest bit of wind. His immune system was literally next to nothing. He'd have food reactions, to the point where we nearly lost him 3 times over the last few years. And then probably about 3 years ago, we discovered he had early stage leukemia, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to go through as a parent. And, I know there's a lot of people on this podcast that, have had some kind of connection to someone with cancer, or has, a parent going through it, or a family member, or, knows of a friend. It's so, I'm just actually shocked by how many people that come to me now in the clinic that say, I've had this, or I know of someone who has it. And for me, that's really kind of when I woke up to the alternative healing space, because for myself, I've been to a lot of functional doctors, lots of integrative medicine doctors, naturopaths. I traveled the world to find the best equipment to help my kids. And to be honest, I was just piecing it all together, because I'm like, the traditional medical system had failed me. It was like, okay, just take this or do that, and I'm like, well, this is not working, even with the neurodiversity side of things with my kids. So that led me on the path to go find people through my own video business at that stage, because I actually ended up, through my video mastery business, traveling the world and meeting all these people in the health and wellness space and actually acquiring all this technology. So as a result of that, very much say that my son is completely in remission. He has actually gone from being bedridden to playing Division II rep basketball. So this kid couldn't even get out of bed for many years, or he'd be, he could barely do anything, let alone any sport. So that's a huge win for us. And I did that through alternative therapies like hyperbaric oxygen treatment. I've got one of the highest pressures on the Sunshine Coast with the right amount of oxygen. So there's all sorts of things around oxygen, because in an oxygenated body, disease can't live in an oxygenated body. So that was a big thing that we did with him. We did sound therapy, water beds, which was huge because we released the emotional side of the link to his leukemia. I became a bioresonance practitioner and studied and mastered advanced techniques in how to release cellular trauma from gestation period to current age. So I could actually also pinpoint the emotional root cause of his leukemia, which was abandonment by his mother, which is when I was actually doing my video mastery business and traveling the world and doing what I had to do as a mother, but not being real present and, having nannies and all sorts of things. So I looked at his emotional link to his cancer and unlocked that through biofeedback. So and a whole bunch of other technologies as well. So I'm a big believer. I think the medical world is really missing the emotional link to people's illness, specifically cancer. I feel like 100% of the people in my clinic, there's some kind of emotional link or some kind of conflict that they've experienced, whether it's some trauma that they have not been able to let go and release. And when we do and uncover that and release that, I think that's where the magic lies. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is actually helping people uncover that emotional root cause, releasing that through biofeedback. And then obviously, the other externals like oxygen, sound therapy, light therapy, and all sorts of things. So yeah, I mean, and then also, a big component is activating stem cells, which is we've incorporated that into my son and he's thriving. And so are my clients. It is just, it's mind-blowing, but it is nothing more rewarding than watching someone heal really fast and get their life back.
God, I absolutely love it. And I really feel that there is space for that now, and people are being more open to it. It could be perceived as controversial. It could be perceived as, there's no research. And being a health practitioner myself, probably, I guess, on slightly more the alternative side of things, I've had 25 years of, don't go to the chiropractor and don't do this and don't do that. But when you see the results that you can't deny case by case, and whether it's just for your child, whether it's for one person you've helped in the clinic, and that was the right thing for them, God, that's just lit up, isn't it? But I think there is a growing body of evidence in all of the techniques and technologies you're using. So how does it work in your clinic? So let's say someone's down on their power and they've been given, look, we'll just say a cancer diagnosis. We'll use that one. They've got a cancer diagnosis. They've been through the medical system and either want to use it in parallel or not at all and look for a more natural alternative approach and aim to get to the root cause of the problem, not just treat the symptoms of cancer. What would they experience, say, in your clinic, Natasha?
Look, the first thing, Tony, is that they've got to have a willingness to explore. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think a lot of people come to me sometimes a bit too late when they've exhausted the Western medicine, the chemo, the radiation, the pharmaceuticals, and they've left they're kind of coming to me at that very end. And obviously I'll do whatever I can, but I also believe that it's the ones that are open to just doing whatever it takes, which is what was my philosophy with my son. Is, I kind of went beyond and above and beyond, I should say, to go and find answers to actually heal my son and my daughter for that matter. And I think if people are willing to explore everything from the emotional component to the physical component to their nutrition to their belief systems, I think if they're open to that, then we can do amazing work. So the first thing I kind of really sort of pre-qualify is like where they're at and what they're willing to do and what they're willing to explore. And I totally respect not everyone's willing to go there on the emotional side of their traumas and the link. But if they really have the courage to do that, that's where the most amazing transformations happen. So yeah, I would really kind of encourage people to be open enough to look at that. And if not, then that's okay. I've got other technologies like oxygen therapy. The sound therapy water beds I use, I have 4 of them in the clinic, and they release cellular trauma just through the water and vibration. Vibration, as you know, we're 70% water. So connecting those frequencies, whether it's stress, anxiety, physical or mental trauma, I've got frequencies for every condition, and that just plays through the water beds, and they don't even have to talk about it. So from a coaching perspective, for kids especially that don't want to talk about what's bothering them, the bed actually releases it on a cellular level. So that alone is powerful. And then we've got red light therapy. We activate the stem cells with, LifeWave X39 patches, which is they can work on every day of the week. And I've seen incredible results. And I've had a lady literally yesterday came into my clinic 5 months ago with stage 3 colon cancer with a 5 centimeter tumor. And within 5 months of coming here in the clinic, and she did do obviously a bit of Western medicine as well, gone within 5 months. That's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. They can't find the tumor. I'm like, but we also did everything. We did the emotional component. We released that. We did that through my technology. We did the oxygen. We did the sound therapy, red light, plasma light technology. We threw everything at it, and just can't find the tumor.
Yeah. So if we go to frequency for a moment, because I think that's such an important topic, I'll use an example. I had a client come in to see me yesterday, and she was convinced she's tried everything for her condition. And they'll say the words, I've tried everything. And I said, well, you haven't seen me. So you haven't tried everything, just got her to laugh a bit. And she goes, oh, yeah, of course, I haven't. And she hadn't even tried chiropractic. And then when I went through what she had tried, yes, there was the list of the classic Western medical, being to the doctor, being to the X, Y, and Z, and hadn't got the results. But in her mind, she'd tried everything. And I think most people would agree that there is an impact in our body with the emotional component, with stress, like you said, and that could be a trauma, it could be something, and the cortisol level changes and our brain chemistry changes, our body. How that manifests in the body is different for everyone, of course. But the frequency, if I can go back to that right now, the frequency of water, the frequency of our body is an amazing scope that I think humans we could expand into and understand more. Can you say more for the listener about how the actual frequency, in your understanding, impacts, say, one of those conditions?
Oh, absolutely. We're all energy, we're all vibration, and our thoughts, are extremely powerful. I spent 7 days with Dr. Joe Dispenza recently in Denver, and, that was mind-blowing, just the power of, what we believe to be true about ourselves, what we believe to be true about others. And that's all energy, and that's all getting imprinted into our cells, whether we like it or not. And when we release that, whether it's through meditation, changing belief systems, our lives change. And I truly believe that sometimes, if people can't meditate, and obviously that's a powerful way and it's free and people can do that, I feel sometimes people just need a bit of extra support to help them shift that mindset and change their whole belief around their health, like, wealth, whatever it is, whatever the realms of power are. But I believe around their health, and I really feel that sometimes our story can actually get in the way of our healing. Whether it's, I believe that I've tried everything and nothing's worked. Well, you're imprinting that. Just by saying it out loud, you're actually manifesting that. So it's about going, okay, what am I saying to myself? Am I saying I'm going to get well, or am I saying nothing works? Well, then that's going to be true because that's what you're putting out there. So changing those belief systems around health is number one priority, but also, supporting that with the technology that I have to help people move through that. And I think people, if they can see a result fast enough or even a little bit of progress, then they have the belief. So once they see a little bit of improvement, they're like, oh, okay, maybe it's possible. I can heal. But again, it's just really be mindful of what you say to yourself because you will create that.
Yeah. And going back again into the sound, our voice projects that sound. So when our voice projection, the resonance of our voice and our ability to project what our beliefs are makes that thought brainwave pattern turn into even more power through the realm. So we give it voice, we give it even more belief. And the actual sound itself, so let's say you've got the waterbed, just so again for the listeners to visualize this, there is a waterbed, and my understanding is a sound frequency at a certain level for a certain condition is put through that. And that resonance of that sound, how does that actually interact with the either cellular environment or what does it actually do from a scientific perspective to make that healing?
Absolutely. So the first thing it does, Tony, and you would know this being a chiropractor, it activates the vagus nerve, right? Which is like one of the most important nerves that we need to activate. And it shuts off the sympathetic nervous system so that our body can go into homeostasis. Because when we're in fight or flight, we actually cannot heal. So, because we're actually looking for danger, or whether it's, from past experiences or current experiences, if we're in fight or flight, there's no way the body can actually go into self-regulation and healing. And what the beds are designed to do is to shut that sympathetic nervous system off, allow the vagus nerve to activate, and then the body goes into self-regulation through the water, through the frequency, activating whatever that is where we're working on. And to be honest, it's really worked on, core emotions. So if you're angry at the core, you're frustrated with your life or your situation or your health, well, then we need to release and unlock that. And that's what the beds are designed to do. They set it at a certain frequency for that emotion. Or if it's depression or sadness or, whatever the emotion is, then we tailor that to the person. And then we start to release that at the core. And once that's released at a core level and cellular level, the body then feels safe to go into healing.
Yeah, what a beautiful summary. So, and yeah, like you said, there's so many different technologies you have at the clinic to be available. Now, I know you are on the Sunshine Coast. How would any of the listeners, if they were in this realm, come to sort of get more information about where your practice is, how that they could help? And again, you're not putting up on a banner, "Oh, I can cure cancer." I know you're very clear on that. You're not trying to make a claim that's not, validated in the medical field. And how would they find you to be able to explore their options?
Sure. Well, I have a website, shinehealthandwellness.com.au. A lot of my services are on there. Obviously, I don't claim to treat, cure any condition. I'm just here to help your body get back into balance so it can actually work on healing itself and speed up that process. So all my treatments are on that website. They can look at all the services on there. And I work with a lot of people from, cancer, whether it's stage 2, 3, 4, or neurodiverse children. I have a lot of results with autistic and ADHD and ADD kids and parents for that matter. I've actually got whole families that come in at the same time, all having the sound therapy treatment with multiple treatments. So kids are there, having treatment. My mum and dad, or mum is actually getting relief for herself at the same time. So very family friendly, people from strokes, to all different things, autoimmune conditions, thyroid issues. Yeah, it's just so rewarding to be able to have this amazing technology on the Sunshine Coast. We're based in Yandina Creek by appointment only, so people can contact me and have a call, and then we can work out a plan and work out what's best for them. But yeah, it's phenomenal the work that we're doing, and yeah, I'm super excited to actually help people after the years of pain and trying to help my own kids.
Yeah, look, I love it. And so many parents obviously want to do the best they can for their kids in the world right now compared to, say, when you and I were growing up. There seems like there's more and more challenges, a lot of diagnosis for younger kids, whether that's through the environment, whether that's through over medication or different inputs, whether that's through nutrition. There's so many different factors that might be leading to that, but it is definitely becoming more of a problem than less, I believe. So looking for that healing in the alternative space and offering services that you do, Natasha, is absolutely amazing. So I did say at the start, we have an exceptional guest come on. I'm sure the listeners will agree that you've had a massive journey from phenomenal thing and a lot of hard challenges. It hasn't been easy. And it's not like,
No.
"Oh, this was given to me on a platter." Oh no. So, you know,
No, that's definitely a misconception I definitely want to break because, I think sometimes we do it ourselves. We look at other people and think, oh, whatever we prejudge, but we have really no idea about their backstory. And neither do I when people come into the clinic. We just don't know what people have been through. And if I can just help them in any way, through my tools and techniques and even stuff, I know for myself, I had chronic fatigue for 10 years just from sheer burnout from my video mastery business, teaching entrepreneurs how to speak on camera for 10 years, all the while trying to manage, two very sick kids. I completely burnt out and really didn't take care of myself. So being able to now obviously helped myself. I have no chronic fatigue anymore. I've introduced, stem cell activation patches, and I do sound therapy myself. And I'm actually able to heal others or help heal others now because I'm actually taking care of myself, which I wasn't before. So that's what I would always say to people is make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can be there for your kids or your husband or your partner or your wife, or your family members. You've got to take care of you first.
Oh, what a beautiful message. So, look, to wrap up this episode, Natasha, thanks again for coming on the show. I know that there is the powerful person that you are as a life coach, your experiences. If you had a final piece of golden wisdom to share with our listeners about how in the realms of power, in any realm that might be, to stand in their power and turn their power on, what would that final message be?
Oh, look, there's so many different parts I could share. I may do a couple, but I think for me, where I think people, especially around their health, if we're looking at that, if they have the courage to really uncover what's holding them back, whether it's an emotional conflict, a trauma or something, if they have the courage to really go there and look at that, I believe long-term health will actually be sustained because they're getting to the root cause of the issue, not just the physical symptoms, pain, aches, all sorts of things. So get to the root cause emotionally and also physically. And I believe that will give you long-term health, not just maybe overnight relief. And because we don't want the cancers coming back, we don't want the chronic autoimmune conditions coming back, or all the neurological stuff. Let's deal with the root cause. And then on the personal development side of things, I believe our greatest gifts lie on the other side of our doorway of fear. And if we have the courage, whether it's looking at our past, looking at our trauma, chasing our dreams, uncovering why we want to do something, and then don't hold back. Have the courage to walk through those doorways of fear because the treasure is on the other side. And when we do so, that's where the gift is. And I believe nothing spectacular happens inside our comfort zone, whether it's our health, wealth, personal development, purpose. If we walk through those doorways and we embrace it, that's where we have the magic.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful summary of an amazing podcast, Natasha. Thank you so much, really, for coming on the show and inspiring our listeners to stand into their power and definitely in the health realm, which helps improve the quality and quantity of your life. What a beautiful message.
Thank you so much for having me, Tony. It was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And to our listeners, once again, for tuning in, thank you so much. Have an awesome day. See ya.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Realms of Power. I have such gratitude for your time and energy and the vision to join us with turning your true aligned power on. To take your power up another level, you could share this episode with someone who you think would benefit or make a comment online that would help us get this information out there. We'd really appreciate your love and support. Hope you have an awesome day. See ya.